All right. Welcome back to the show. It's January 20th. I'm Nathan Creeps, joined by my co-host, Mr. Bryce Vorscheller. It's episode 22 of the Iowa Chill Show. We are following a disastrous pod from last week.
Yeah, we sure are. We missed your pepper. We missed pretty much, I think one of the best recordings we've ever had, and it is just gone in the ether somewhere. Somehow it got corrupted. We couldn't download. We couldn't see you suffering to boost your teams, and it really sucked. We got one little segment out of it, which actually got viewed quite a bit, which was really nice. Thanks to everyone that viewed that episode. But I wish you could have seen the full thing because it was great.
Yeah, it was definitely one of our best content produced shows. I knew that going in. I definitely felt that coming out of it, even with the pain and suffering I went into. And everyone saw us ranking the 5 towns or the 5 best Mexican restaurants. That was a whole separate recording because I was in so much pain that we had to cut the first half of the episode to let me try and recover for the following half hour. Came back, started a whole new episode, and that's why we were able to get that footage versus me actually eating hot chip, which sucks, dude. I mean, I know people are probably sick and tired of me talking about it, but 2025 has kicked my ass. There's no doubt about it, and it's kicked a lot of people's A's here in the state of Iowa. And I sacrificed so much to eat that chip, and it was way worse than I could have ever imagined. And I suffered very deeply, and I can't even show it to anyone. You're the only witness we have.
And the worst part about it for me, looking as an observer, was that people started to doubt that it even happened. And I hate that for you. And I made sure to tell them that it did happen. But I really wanted you to keep that package so that nobody could ever doubt you. And I mean, I guess you could never prove that it was in your mouth, but at least show that you had the package.
In this era of life, 2025, you need footage. You have social media, you have too much technology to prove yourself and what you've done. So if you don't have it, it didn't happen according to a lot of people. And my insides would tell you otherwise. And it was so bad that I immediately even said, there's no way I'll ever do this again. And we've had a fan of the podcast, Alex Noki. He's the reason I did this hot chip challenge. My wife's coworker's boyfriend, he wants me to do it again. And I said, there's no way I'll ever do it again. His birthday, I think, is coming up on February 28th. And he says he wants to get together with me and eat the world's hottest chip again. So that is possibly, I'm not promising right now it's going to happen.
Do it again?
I might do it again. I've had a week to recover. I'm so mad that it didn't happen. I feel like I have to do it again. And I'm going to be, if you thought I was scared last time, I'm 10 times more scared this time.
Yeah, because now you know that it's actually way more painful than you thought.
It's the real deal because I started the chip with touching. I had a glove on, and for some reason, I took my opposite hand that didn't have a glove on. I touched the chip, and I touched my eye, and immediately felt like my eye was going to come off its socket. So right there and then, I knew I was in for a very tough challenge, and it held up to it.
Okay, well, hey, if you do it again, you definitely need to get it on camera because if you say you've done it twice now and you have no evidence, you're really in a tough spot.
You know what we need? I saw this on Instagram Reels right before I came onto the show today that some people who are worried in today's world about showing their face on social media, and then they showed a Chinese girl with about 150 phones in front of her recording at different times. So that's what we need. I need to put a camera here, a camera there, 2 laptops, my phone up on top of it. And let's catch me eating this world's hottest chip if I'm ever going to do it again.
Yeah, there's no chance that the phone, the computer, the videographer that we hired to get this would all have corrupted video. That's probably what we need in this day and age.
What I'm hoping is come February 28th, it's a dart thrown into a haystack, but I'm hoping it's warm enough to where I could do it outside because you saw the outburst of the milk or the chip itself and all the water. I threw up everywhere. I dropped my full thing of water. This whole thing was full of water, and I dropped it on the ground. My ground was soaked. There's chips everywhere. I puked it right up into the trash can. It was terrible. So hopefully I can do it outside, out in an environment where it's welcome for me to be as miserable as possible and skirt everything inside of me out in a projectile way. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm feeling better than I did definitely last week. Bryce, let's have ourselves a good. I think we've got a lot of good content here for the day for everyone. Yep. Before we get into our new segment that I'm going to introduce to y'all here, I want to know what you were up to this weekend.
This weekend was really relaxed. I'd say the biggest news was going the 12 hours without TikTok. I woke up on Sunday morning and It was crazy. It's actually a really weird feeling when the app is it's still on your phone, but you go on there and it says it basically gives you a full description like, hey, you can't use this because of so and so law, whatever. And it was kind of a crazy feeling knowing that you couldn't scroll anymore. And I know that a lot of our friend group actually isn't a big fan of TikTok, but our household is, and so it was interesting. I thankfully was I had things to do, lots of bets on those NFL games and everything, but it was definitely a weird feeling. I will say I gave Instagram Reels a chance, probably more of a chance than I ever have. And I'm so glad that the ban has been pushed back 90 days because I don't think I could last 90 more days just doing Instagram Reels.
So I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. I was all for TikTok getting deleted, even though it helps out our channel a lot here for the Iowa Chill Show. I hate TikTok. I used to be so obsessed with it, like an unhealthy amount. Like I don't even know how many hours I was putting a day on it. So basically what happened was I need to filter my life a little bit better. So I switched over to Instagram Reels, which is immediately less addicting, which literally cut my time and social media in half. I'm not joking you. So ever since then, it was a good, healthy replacement. So that's telling you right there and then TikTok's on a whole new level because I substituted down to Instagram Reels, where it was less addicting. But I think over the years, Instagram Reels has definitely got better.
Yes, it has gotten better.
And it's just a good, healthy balance for me compared to where I was on TikTok. I mean, it was incredible, especially because it came out during the COVID era, which that was your life was TikTok.
Yeah, it's truly amazing how much time you can waste on TikTok. And it's honestly, it would have been a good thing. And maybe it's, I know that Trump and some wealthy individuals are trying to get that deal done so that, you can divest and feel good about national security, all that stuff. But maybe it would be a good thing for society if we got rid of it and went to a lesser platform, because I know a lot of people that waste a good amount of time on TikTok.
What a fun tease, though, right?
Yeah, right. So we're texting back and forth yesterday morning, and I'm like, oh, it's gone. Too bad. We've done a really good job, worked pretty hard on all the clips from the show, and we've grown, probably to like 4,500 followers since August, which is, kind of fun to see the growth. And then within an hour or two, we were texting again saying, oh, it's back.
I had us in the first half. Bryce, my 2025 is not getting any better. My last week when I was in Des Moines, we did the simulator range.
Yes.
And we played more than I usually do when it comes to simulator golf. And at the end, the bartender girl gave us an extra shot. The Abby gave us an extra like 20 minutes on the range, and we swung as hard as we could to hit as many piss missiles as far as we could. And the next day, I could feel it in my lower back. It was as tight. And then the next day after was it was not unbearable, but it was pretty bad. Then came Monday, it got worse. And then Tuesday, it was unbearable. So I drive for a living. And the worst part is when I'm driving in my truck and you stiffen up and you're in so much pain. I had to drive down to Quincy, Illinois from Cedar Rapids, a good 2.5 hour route one way. And I had to pull over 3 different times to get in the back of my truck and do yoga stretches because my back hurt so fucking bad. And then the next day, it was a little bit better on Wednesday, but then I lifted some more things at work, which I think re-aggravated it. And then it was unbearable again Thursday. And then Friday, I couldn't even go into work. I'm like, I got to stay away from work. So I went to the chiropractor Friday, and she's like, your back's so stiff, I can't even adjust you.
Oh, yeah, that happens. That for sure happens.
I still hurt, right? Today's definitely the best day I've had in over a week. But, oh, my God, lower middle back pain is nothing to mess around with. And I'm turning 30 here, and the 30 wake-up call has hit me before I'm even there.
Yeah, so the Emmas, our content Emmas at the office in Cedar Falls, gave me a lot of shit because about 2 years ago I started going to the chiropractor after doing the exact same thing, swinging way too hard in golf. And it really ages you a lot. Like you realize, and I'm swinging better, so I get hurt a lot less, but you realize how humbling a back injury is. So I feel for you. I hope it's getting better. I hope you get a couple more adjustments in. But yeah, it's no joke when you can't use your back.
No, I'm going today again. Hopefully get adjusted this time. But oh my Lord, I've been doing like 40-minute stretches every single day, twice a day, just trying to get some relief of that lower back. But it's definitely nothing you want to mess around with. I need 2026 so bad.
Golf is so fun, but if you don't do it right, it definitely can be.
No, yeah, definitely don't swing as hard as you can, especially when you're in off-season form. And we learned that the hard way.
You got a lot of good things coming up in 2025. Fix that back. I really do think that your year is on. It can't. Okay, fingers crossed. It can't get much worse. So
we keep saying it.
Yeah, we keep saying
worse.
We're gonna manifest a good
Ugh.
rest of 2025. Get that back healed.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But I don't know. Other than that, we had a good weekend. We went over to my brother's. He made some Philly cheesesteak sandwiches, which were awesome. We played a great game of Iowa Monopoly, the Iowa version of Monopoly. I got second place. My brother got first. We didn't even finish the game because when it gets down to that point,
Yeah, it
you
takes
could.
forever.
I had maybe a 10% chance at winning. He had a 90. We just said screw this. So we went to Chick-fil-A at like 9:30, got some milkshakes, called it a day. He owned a lot of property and I was laying on a lot of his barns, but a good version of a Monopoly. If you have never had a
Yeah.
chance.
No, there's a few of those games like Life and Monopoly and Risk. They're so fun, and the first hour or two you knock out a lot of opponents, but then those last couple hours could just be you taking over the world forever. So yeah, I was getting some snaps. It looked like a lot of fun. That's just a nice way to spend a January that got very, very cold weekend.
Right. So sick of this crap. All right, so we're going to start a new segment today. It's called On This Date, Bryce, in Iowa. And for instance, we're going to be on the day of recording, that specific day, we're going to look back at the history of that day throughout the history of Iowa and bring us some key notable impacts or situations that occurred. So today's January 20th, and on this day, Bryce, in 1982, Ozzy Osbourne bit the head of a bat off at a concert in Des Moines.
Yeah.
And then he had to immediately go to the hospital and take rabies shots.
Yes. That's one of the most iconic, disgusting things ever done on stage, and pretty cool that it happened in Iowa. We were going through some content to post this morning on the Iowa Chill channels, and that one definitely came up. We'll see if it gets posted. It's a little graphic. We definitely aren't going to do the actual. They found a photo of it actually happening on
Really?
stage.
I've never seen the photo.
Yeah. I'll send it to you.
I don't know if I want to see
disturbing, and I don't think it's going to make the feed. But such an iconic moment. And have you ever seen the not necessarily documentary, but the drama of the Motley Crue,
No.
The Dirt?
Mm-mm.
Super fun music documentary. More of like a dramatized version of a documentary, but awesome. Little Ozzy Osbourne moments in there. It sounds like one of the most insane guys to ever live.
Didn't Osborne get banned from the state for a couple years after that?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know the details too much. I didn't actually even know it happened in Iowa until this morning.
So it's the funny part about this new segment we're doing is that I had no idea this actually took place today. I was just want to start a new segment. I'm like, oh, it's curious. Let's look up the history of this day when we do these podcasts. And then sure enough, it's Ozzy Osbourne biting the head off of that. But I got a couple more interesting facts that happened on this day, Bryce. 1939, Iowa's first licensed female pilot, Evelyn Sharp, completed a solo flight from Cedar Rapids to Des Moines during a blizzard, becoming the first woman to make the trip in adverse weather conditions.
Awesome. That's really cool.
And
can't even imagine what a blizzard's like these days, but that's an incredible feat.
And on January 20th, 1847, the University of Iowa was officially established by an act of Iowa's territorial legislature, making the first public university in the territory that would become the state of Iowa.
Cool. Nice.
And I got one more for you. Actually, I got two more for you here. On this day, 1929, O.F. Trox, a prominent physician and surgeon from Muscatine, Iowa, invented the liquid carbon dioxide fire extinguisher, which revolutionized fire safety and is still in use today.
Mm-hmm. We still see those around.
Yeah, which fits well into our ending segment today. We're going to be ranking the top 5 inventions that ever come from the state. And our final fact today, Bryce, is 1973. Fighting broke out at Iowa's Clarinda Correctional Facility, a maximum security prison, between inmates and guards over poor living conditions and treatment. The incident, which lasted 2 days, resulted in several injuries and significant damage to the facility. So some shit went down in Iowa.
This was a day.
In January 20th. Holy crap! I didn't realize that.
I imagine some of the days that we have on this show in the future will be a little slower than today.
Yeah, I was gonna say today might be the key of it.
Yeah,
prime time. So hopefully nothing crazy like that happens today.
Yeah,
if it doesn't, I want it to be cool.
I kind of hope it's a chill day. It's inauguration day. We always hope for the transition of power to be pretty chill. So I'm kind of hoping that any of the craziness is postponed at least another day.
No shit, right? We've seen enough problems going on there. Yeah, if anything with a cold January day too. I want nothing bad to happen. Hopefully I get adjusted and a bone doesn't go through my back. On this day, 2025, January 20th, Nathan's spine snapped. Dude, I'm scared.
Yeah,
Shit.
dude.
Maybe
I
I
hope you
shouldn't be
figure
doing
that out.
anything.
It fucking
I have to
sucks.
put myself in some bubble wrap before we carry on with the day. We're going to move on to some Iowa news here, and I don't know if it's ever going to snow again. What a terrible time to be a kid or a high school student in the state of Iowa. These kids don't get any snow days this year.
When I was a junior in high school, the seniors I think had a day and a half of snow, like an early out plus a snow day total, like their whole entire senior year.
That
Then our
sucks.
senior year, I want to say that we had like 6, 7.
Nope,
We
I
had a
remember
ton.
that. Which, because I would assume it's the same at your school where seniors don't have to make up the snow days.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
So it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
yeah,
worked
I
out
mean,
well
I
for
do feel
us.
for the seniors. What's going on? Like, do you have any idea why we're not getting any snow?
I have no idea. A lot of it's going down in the south right now. I see Louisiana, like not just the top of Louisiana, but like towards the Gulf of Mexico. They're due for like 5-6 inches here this week.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And you're watching football yesterday, and you
Uh-huh.
see like Philadelphia and Buffalo and all those eastern states are getting a ton of snow. We can't buy a bucket right
I
now.
know exactly why we're not getting any snow this year. It's because I bought a fucking snowblower.
Oh yeah.
The second I bought that snowblower, 0% chance we're getting any snow this year.
On the flip side, if you hadn't bought it, we probably would have had a record amount of snow.
Just like we did last year. My first time home mower, I'm like, I'll get through the year with just a shovel.
Yeah.
Didn't work out for me. So I'm like, no, I learned my lesson. I'm gonna get a snowblower this year. And no, nothing. Unbelievable. I'm telling you, man, this ain't my
That's
freaking
weird.
year.
We've mentioned it a couple episodes now in a row. Like, as long as you get the snow out in like a couple weeks, I'm totally cool with it. Like, it adds like a nice little flair to the winter. By February, March, I'm ready for it to be done. But man, it's just like kind of looks gross out.
Uh, I, so I already saw the Farmer's Almanac prediction now saying it's going to get really cold through January, and they're saying February is going to bring the burst of snow. I don't believe it. I don't believe it one freaking bit.
Pretty sure they also predicted like a record terrible winter. So don't really believe those guys anymore.
So because I miss snow so much, we're going to drive in this snow history here in the state of Iowa. The snowiest year ever occurred in a town, Allerton, a town of Wayne County, Iowa, Bryce, holds a statewide record for most snowfall in a single winter. From December 2009 to February 2010, 100 inches of snow, or just over 8 feet, fell in Allerton. Allerton, however you pronounce it. That's unbelievable. I don't know if I could believe that. There's no way.
100 inches and what was it, like 4 months?
Yeah. December,
That's
January,
crazy.
February. 3 months.
That'd take until May to thaw.
Yeah, no shit. But for comparison, the next snowiest place in Iowa was in Fort Dodge in Webster County. The city recorded 78 inches of snow, or 6.5 feet, between December 2009 and February 2010. So the same year. I'm trying to remember that year. We would have been maybe freshmen.
Yeah, we'd have been freshmen in high school.
Must have had a lot of snow days that year.
I remember growing up and having a lot of snow days. It's weird here. Like, it's not like Minnesota where you get a ton of snow and consistently throughout every winter, but there are definitely years where you get a ton. But
like last year we had drill in the 2 weeks. The snowiest day on record in Iowa takes us way back. The highest 24-hour snowfall period took place in Northborough, located in Page County, which is very southwest Iowa, from February 25th to February 26th. On this day, got 24 inches of snow recorded. So 2 feet of snow in one day, which is last year. I think we got maybe 14 inches in one day here in Cedar Falls, 14, 15. And then a couple days later, you got the exact same thing. So I can't imagine getting all that in one day. 2 feet of one's unreal.
I know. It is crazy. It's even hard to imagine now.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking out, like I said in the last
right
podcast, it looks like just a late November day. Besides stepping outside, you're physically hurt right now. All right, the snowiest name record. I don't know, dude. I miss it so much. Unbelievable. I want snow so bad because I want to be able to go through the seasons and go through my phases of depression. I feel like I can't quite do that yet. It's teasing me, especially when we just had a 45-degree weather day here just last Friday, and now we're down to. I guess I can a little bit with the temperature wise, but visually wise, I'm not getting it.
I agree. Yeah, it's fun. Even though you're an adult and you don't have a real snow day, there's just a buzz in the air when there's a lot of snow coming down. And I miss that. Like, people get excited for it. And I just like that feeling.
We're not getting blizzards, but we are getting frost quakes, explosions, Bryce. Here in this last Friday, we had a frost quake explosion in Emmitsburg. Did you hear about this?
I did not.
Okay, you ever heard of a frost quake?
No.
Okay, so it's a sudden underground movement resulting from the freezing and expansion of water within saturated soil or rock, often accompanied by a loud cracking or booming sounds. So I'll tell you, Emmitsburg, which is 30 minutes west of my hometown, Algona, I got on Facebook. I have a lot of good Emmitsburg friends. I got on Facebook and saw a bunch of people. Hey, what was that loud boom we just heard? I thought nothing of it. And then my cousin Michael texted me. Did you guys hear about the frost quake in Emmitsburg? And at the same time, my brother's friend who lives just 5 miles northwest of Laguna said, he's like, I swear to God, I just heard thunder out here. So that's already 25 miles apart. So
Right.
I don't know. I mean, so it went at least 25 miles apart from each other where you could hear this impact. But apparently, a frostquake took place in Emmitsburg where people thought it was snow thunder, but nope. Turned out it was ice and like a tiny little aquifer underneath the ground. And when it freezes, it tries to expand and the soil is frozen, so it kind of keeps it in its place. And at some points, it just gives and cracks and it creates a loud
Okay.
boom. So I don't know if it's like an
Interesting.
earthquake feeling, but you definitely hear it.
Yeah, because the nearest fault line I think is in Missouri, so there's really no way for Iowans to directly feel the effects of a earthquake, and this must be like the closest thing.
Which is
It's
cool.
cool.
We need as much excitement as we can get in Iowa, and a frostquake is a good start.
I mean, we're dying for it. If we're not going to get snow, we might as well get some like minor earthquake symptoms.
That's right. All right. Now we get to the sad and fun, or the sad part. But we'll highlight it off with the only positive part coming out for sports here in the state of Iowa is that Drake, the one thing that's keeping my life together for me visiting the space shot in Adventureland, Drake extends Bryce to a 3-game winning streak after defeating Indiana State on the road 71-53. Bennett Sturts leads the way with 16 points, 3 boards, 9 assists, but he was outscored by Muscari, hitting 5 3-pointers, tallying up 19 points. Drake moves on to 16-2.
I had to wear the jacket again today, Nate, because our video from last week was corrupted, and I wanted to keep this bandwagon streak alive. I want people to know that I'm still on, and I haven't left. When they lost 2 games in a row, I didn't give up faith. And I believe in these Bulldogs. That's awesome. I didn't actually watch any of the games, but I'm pumped to see that. It's awesome. They definitely are. They're consistent. The brand of basketball that you keep talking about is really, really fun to watch, and it's like one that you can kind of count on game in, game out.
And that's all I want for a basketball program is consistency. And no one's done that better than Drake here in the last 6-7 years, especially with DeVries taking over. And look what he's done over in West Virginia, which we'll talk about their game with Iowa State. And I've been texting Admire after these games, telling my 2 cents and saying, hey, these 2 losses that we had a couple weeks ago are starting to pay some dividends, it looks like. Kind of woke
Mm-hmm.
Drake up a little bit and kind of really got their shit together. That's a big win. Yeah, that's a previous matchup with the Missouri Valley Conference Championship last year. You're thinking Indiana State's going to look for a little bit of revenge here, especially at
Mm-hmm.
their home court, and Drake didn't even give them the opportunity to get in that game.
Winning on the road in college basketball is really hard. So I'd say that's a 2x multiplier on the momentum of their season. The fact that you're on a 3-game win streak, but then doing it on the road as well, that's awesome.
And nobody loses better on the road than the Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa gets manhandled out in LA. Bryce, I'm going to put you in a scenario. You wake up, it's June 6th, 1944. You're Adolf Hitler. Your general comes speaks to you, says, hey, the Allies are invading Omaha Beach. But he says, don't worry, we have Fran McCaffrey and the Iowa Hawkeyes defending the beach. What are your initial thoughts?
I don't think we stand much of a chance. Now, I don't love being Hitler in this situation, but I will say that I don't think the Hawks would put up much of a fight. These guys look like they've almost given up on the season. And I want to hear, as a true Hawkeye fan, what your perspective is, because from a casual onlooking fan, like, it looks really dire.
I would say it's the saddest I've ever seen Iowa Hawkeye basketball underneath Fran McCaffrey. I mean, I'm just so hopeless. You're at the point where you're laughing, almost cheering for the opposing team to keep hitting these records against Iowa. Fran McCaffrey, listen to this stat. Fran McCaffrey has given up 4 different school records to opposing teams for most points in school history in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Not just these teams have done against Iowa, but they've done it against Fran McCaffrey himself. That is a very alarming stat. And you've seen USC beats Iowa 99-89. They had their season high against us. UCLA, who is averaging 75 points a game, pits up 57 in the first half against the Hawks and ends with 94-70 whooping against Iowa. Iowa's defense price is giving them 79 points per game, which is 334th in the country.
It's really rough. I mean, I even remember 6, 7 years ago, you and Colby would joke about teams having record shooting nights against Iowa. That has not changed, and in fact, it's now getting really, really scary.
It,
Like teams are going, like it's almost guaranteed that teams are going to have the most points they've had all season, break records.
I've always said I would do anything, and I would love the dream to go out there and play an offensive game against Iowa. On how confident, how comfortable I would be. Right?
Yeah, you just know you'd shoot.
How comfortable would you be out there? And that's to start the confidence right away. These teams are going in the game knowing they're going to get their looks, and they're having fun. That's what my brother and I
Mhm.
were saying. Like they're just out there having fun playing against Iowa. And that is not what you want. Like when I watch Iowa State, how miserable this has got to be being on that court, being swarmed by their defensive pressures and their
Mhm.
traps. These teams are loose, having fun, getting every look that in the book against the Hawks. And man, it sucks because the reason it sucks is Iowa should have done something last year for McCaffrey. Thank them for kind of reviving the program. You know, you
Mhm.
got a Big Ten championship. Things were in a very terrible dark era with God, what's his name? John Licklider.
Mhm.
And Fran McCaffrey kind of I'll salute him. Thank you for reviving it, but I think you've overstayed your welcome. And we could have potentially got Darren DeVries last year. Brought over his son, teamed up last year with his former high school teammate, Peyton Sanford and Price Sanford. And you look at DeVries. DeVries has had 3 top 10 wins this season at his first tenure at West Virginia. Talk about a team who's lost majority of the roster from last year and a star player, two-time Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year, is not even playing. They won
Mhm.
at Kansas. They beat number 3 Gonzaga. Now they just beat number 2 Iowa State with all these weapons.
Yeah, I mean you. It's a great point. Like Fran did a lot for this, or like this whole school. I mean, what Kirk did for the football program when these teams were really not looking, the future was not looking bright for either of those programs. And you need that bridge. You need somebody to pull you out. But at the same time, the loyalty, same as Kirk Ferentz and what we talked about with football, it's running a little too strong. Like I think that at some point you move on. It's not going to get better. We haven't seen a Sweet 16 appearance in God knows how many years. Football is not going to win a championship. At some point, you have to move on. And when there's those guys that come through not so very often that have connections to the university, that's when it really stings. The DeVries thing is killer.
I know I've been looking at a lot of Hawkeye fans, and I've been saying for the last 6, 7 years, I'm like, I'm gonna go watch this guy fucking play basketball, coach basketball. I'm sick of watching the
Mm-hmm.
Hawks, and my life has been dramatically better by cheering on Drake. And thank God for Ben McCollum stepping into the great shoes of Darren DeVries. But just imagine the fact that Darren DeVries potentially could have been in Iowa, you know,
I know.
and it sucks so much. You struck out if you're Beth Getz. You got to make a move. I get it. These guys we're too loyal to a fault that's damaging our program, especially with NIL nowadays. Screw loyalty. I mean, yeah, you need it, but to a certain amount, to not the tradition that we built the Iowa athletic programs on here. It's not
Mm-hmm.
we're leaning on too heavy. You need to
Mm-hmm.
adapt and change and bring in new fresh blood. And I mean, look, Iowa State's made the change here after Steve Fromm. And look at what TJ Altsberger's done. You know, and they make the change with Matt Campbell. Look at the dividends that's paying out for these universities. If Iowa's stuck in their old ways, and we're only digging ourselves a bigger hole.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these guys don't even look like they want to play basketball.
They don't, and that's. I think that's probably the final straw. I don't know for sure. I don't know what's happening in those meetings at the administrative level at the university, but you have to think that when you start losing the locker room a little bit, you see the product diminish on the floor. That's You're getting really close to a breaking point. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is finally the time. I don't remember what the contracts look like. I know Ferentz has many years left. If he wants to, he could maybe retire or something. But man, it's starting to look like it's just time to move on. You see the conversations we have back in September, October when we're talking football, they're so similar. Like you get scared to move on from a coach that you've had success with, at least at a minor level, because you don't want to go into the abyss, right?
Yeah, I would agree. Prior to the last 3 years, I would agree with that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Say, but now with NIL, you can adapt and change just like snap of a finger. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, look at West Virginia. They made the risk, and now they're already reaping the benefits here in the first half of the season. If it
for
doesn't
sure.
work, and then you could bring in new players. You can always figure something out. You got to make a change. You got to make a risk. You can adapt and recover from that risk quicker than you ever have before with NIL and the transfer portal. Now's the time, and we bit the ass on it. We've lost Aaron DeVries. Oh my! Wake up, Iowa!
Yeah.
Killing me.
That's a really good point. I mean, we've talked about the success that is almost instantaneous with guys like Deion Sanders, guys like DeVries, guys like McCollum. I mean, that's a great point that I don't know if I was not grasping it, but I think that the loyalty thing is just weird. And you hear it from probably 30% of the fan. I think it's growing. There was a very small percentage of the fan base that wanted to move on from Ferentz in like 2020 to 2023.
You got to look at it from a player perspective too, and
Mm-hmm.
I get it. If I'm a player and I'm going to go to university, I would like a little bit of tradition there. You know, good foundation that this guy's been here for a couple of years. Uh, Now we're when I say a couple years, I'm talking at least maybe 4 or 5. I mean, Fran McCaffrey's been there 14, 15. Kirk Ferentz been over 20 some years now. If it works, cool, but it's not working. You know, it's time to move on.
Yeah.
Make
Well, dude, a true testament of tradition and like the tenets of your university are the fact that everybody that graduated there keeps it moving forward in the rest of their lives. And the next guy that comes in to replace the shoes of that person already has ingrained those tenets into their being. So, like, truly, the culture shouldn't change. Like, it should be a figurehead. It should be a strategic scheme that they execute. But like like you see it with Ohio State. Then anybody that comes through Ohio State is going to know exactly. Like they might play a little different brand. They might adjust to the players that they have, but that culture stays with
right.
you. AJ Hawks and Laurinaitis and like all these guys, like they'll talk to those tenants and those pillars.
And yeah, so it kind of reminds me of like Wisconsin hiring, I think it's Luke Fickle. You know, he was originally at Cincinnati, an air raid guy. An air
Mm-hmm.
raid guy kind of coming to Wisconsin, but that culture of Wisconsin's still there.
Mm-hmm.
They're a pro style football team trying to run an air raid, but when you watch them play it, they still look like a pro style team. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
For sure. Like there's elements that can change while you still keep the foundation of what you're about. Now, Wisconsin's an interesting product. That would be something I don't want Iowa to turn into
no, nope.
because they went from like the top in 2015 to now almost irrelevance
Mm-hmm.
in football because they can't recruit a
Yeah,
quarterback.
it's definitely a guinea pig for sure over there. We'll see how it kind of
Mm-hmm.
develops with more time. Fickle being there and bringing it in the system that he wants. Iowa does fall to 12-6 now. I believe it's ninth in the Big Ten. And up next, they bring on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And
Yep.
it'll be 8 o'clock Tuesday night. And I can't wait to watch a half of that, laugh, and then go to bed. Iowa State falls to in Morgantown, Bryce. An upset on the road. West Virginia beats the number 2 Iowa State Cyclones 64-57. Darren DeVries, like I said, is now beating 3 top 10 teams in his first half year at West Virginia without Tucker DeVries.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State goes 1-17 from 3-point land, and you kind of just knew it was a weird, tricky vibe. Iowa State's escaped some of these road victories.
Yep.
They're not going to do it this time by shooting 1 for 17 from 3. And that's been the difference in these previous games. Iowa State's been able to hit those dagger threes to keep
Mm-hmm.
that separation from the home team making a momentum run, and that's exactly what West Virginia did.
Yeah, it was a really, really roller coaster week for Iowa State fans. You go and get your first number 2 ranking in a ton of years, if it's even happened to ever. You go and beat a solid Kansas team at Hilton Coliseum. The Hilton Magic was real. Some key things about this last week of Cyclone basketball. Momcilovic is out, and Curtis Jones starts, and that's something that hasn't happened. They've mentioned at nauseum, really, of Curtis Jones starting. I think a lot of fans are kind of wondering why that's not the case because at the end of the day, he ends up getting more minutes and averages more points. Here's what I saw, and here's what I've talked to a few of my Cyclone insiders about. Jones went freak mode in the first half against Kansas. Went 5 for 5 from 3. I think he had 20 first half points and was really carrying a lot of the torch for that Iowa State team against Kansas. You shoot 1 for 17 on the road. A lot of that is Curtis Jones. You're seeing Keyshawn Gilbert and some of those guys down low not being able to get in a rhythm. And a lot of the insiders and a lot of my personal viewing takeaway is that it's different with Jones as a starter. So I'm not sure how much you were able to watch those games and what your takeaway is, but I think that's an interesting point.
Yeah, no, I watched every second the Kansas and West Virginia game. Yeah, like you said, well, it's not that big of a miss because now you're bringing in arguably the
You know,
sixth man of the year, who's
right.
averaging 16, 17 points a game. But it's a different vibe. I get it. The guy's
Mhm,
comfortable coming off the bench. It's like an extra juice injected
mhm.
into your team after 4 minutes into the game. You want to have your solid starting lineup. And if it works, which it has been working tremendous, I mean, we're talking about sixth man of the year,
Yeah, definitely.
Curtis Jones coming up. And he just ignites a different level of intensity into this roster at the start of a game, coming off that 4 minute
Mhm.
stretch. And here's the thing. I always say it's fine. You go,
Yeah.
you make 2 or 3 more of your threes, what you're gonna do in
Mhm.
99% of your games, you're gonna be just fine. Okay.
For
Yeah,
sure.
and here's the
Because they
thing.
made more field goals. I think they were either equivalent or equal the total of West Virginia's total field
And
goals.
you're I would say it's a little bit of new territory for sure. You're gonna have a target on
Mhm.
your back no matter where you go this season. I mean, you're a number
Yep.
two team going to one of the most hostile environments in the Big 12. There in Morgantown. Darren DeVries, an Iowa guy, really meant a lot to him to get this W. Proud of him. Congrats to Darren DeVries. That's a massive,
It's
massive
awesome.
win. So I would say it's fine. Up next, they got UCF Central Florida, who did hang a tight one against Houston. The Cougars, one of the hottest teams in the country. I think Houston escaped by 2 or 3 points, maybe even one
Mhm.
point there at the end. UCF did get destroyed by like 40 at home versus Kansas. So
Mhm.
we'll see. It's a good bounce back game for Iowa State to establish their dominance once again and get things figured out and carry on with the season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think there's anything to like really worry about. I think when you change the rotation up, you have to find that new normal. It changes a lot. Like if you've ever played the game, you know that everyone gets in a rhythm and you got to kind of fit within that system. So I don't think there's anything to worry about. And there's a lot of good games coming up. I'm excited about that Houston game, and then you obviously get Kansas at in Lawrence over there end of February, I believe. So yeah, lots. I'd even try to catch a game. I'm gonna catch you and I and Drake when they come back into town, and I want to get up to Hilton for sure.
You and I will be at Drake, not this upcoming Wednesday, but I believe the next Wednesday.
Yeah. How are those Panthers doing? We don't talk
They're
much about
struggling.
them. I know that they're
They're
yeah.
struggling. They get a win here, and then they lose one there. Bad loss, I believe, against Illinois State here this weekend by about 20.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but I believe so. So a lot of talent on team just not finding a way to put the puzzles together. And Ben Jacobson's going to find a way when it comes to the Missouri Valley Conference tournament. The Panthers
Yeah.
look like they're comfortable there. We're going to move on, Bryce, to our final segment of the day. We're going to be ranking our top 5 favorite Iowa inventions. And I'm not going to lie, when I was looking into this, I thought there'd be a lot more inventions come from the state of Iowa. We're a little bit lamer than I thought, but we do have some interesting ones.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 out of my 5 are physical inventions. One is not an invention, but I'll go ahead and start this list. My
Okay.
number
Go
5
ahead.
favorite invention is something that has to do with the Olympics. Bryce,
Oh, interesting.
the butterfly stroke was invented in Iowa by David Armbruster, who was an Iowa swimming coach. I think it was back in like 1935, to be correct. I almost think this was a strategic move by the U.S. government to find a way we can win more U.S. gold medals in
Oh,
the
definitely.
Olympics. So we got a guy to invent something crazy that only Americans would be the best at. And ever since then, we've won a lot of gold medals. So that's a massive invention coming out of the state of Iowa.
Yeah, Nate, you don't have to speculate. You know that we do this as a country. We invented our own football because we weren't good at football.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously now it's got some global recognition but yeah, we're amazing. I mean, the USA is king of making up a sport to just be the best at. I like that one. I didn't ever know that. That's a fun one. Can I start off with something that is more of a saying that
Yeah,
comes from
absolutely.
Iowa?
Yep, I love it.
Okay. It was an invention too. I think that there's some controversy on this, whether, the actual invention was whatever, but have you heard the term better than sliced bread?
Yes.
That term, you can thank a Davenport bread company for inventing at least a contribution to the bread slicer. So, better than sliced bread, you can thank Iowa in some part for that saying, and also for the sliced bread that you may eat every day.
You will be seeing that on my list.
Okay,
Follow us
nice,
back with your
nice.
number 4.
Uh, this is a food, and if you've ever enjoyed a taco pizza, you can thank Happy Joe's founder, Joe Whitty, the inventor of the taco pizza and founder of Happy Joe's.
Massive, massive,
Mm-hmm.
massive. Do you know when he invented that?
I want to say around 1974, but after looking at 5, 10,
Mhm.
15 dates, I might have gotten that mixed
I
up. But somewhere in the 70s, I think.
Speaking of that, I just had my first ever bacon cheeseburger pizza, Jack's Pizza, here just last week. And
Yes.
yeah,
What'd you think?
uh, favorite pizza. Yep, from Jack's.
Yes, from
I
Jack's.
think I ended up
Hmm.
rating it like a 4.6 out of 5.
Yeah, no,
Uh-huh.
great score. But yeah, it is. I mean, if you're gonna have a Jack's Pizza, like that is an elite choice. Love
Mhm.
that. Happy for you.
My number 4, Bryce, is trampolines. Invented
Yeah.
by George Nissen from Cedar Rapids. I believe they're him and a buddy who are gymnasts at the University of Iowa. That makes sense. Gymnasts created trampolines, and man, did I do a lot of time on trampolines growing up. My
Yeah.
cousin Michael got some stitches from a trampoline. He was jumping on it. My cousin Angie's, and a spring went off from one side of the trampoline right to his eye, right below his
Hmm.
eye. Had to get stitches, but great times. I never suffered any too serious injuries, but they are very scary trapment. But I had a lot of good time on them.
Yeah. I mean, super fun. And there's the thanks for Iowa for inventing the trampoline. Very dangerous. A lot of people I know that have had lifelong injuries from trampolines. Do you remember Will Thompson's friend Austin Shatechka?
No.
He has a lifetime injury to his neck from a trampoline.
Oh,
And I know like 6 or 7 people that have like broken arms and legs
unreal.
from going through the trampoline, falling off.
Yeah,
Trampoline is a love or hate.
yeah. You need the net as a parent. If I get a trampoline, you're gonna get the net surrounding it. There's no doubt
No
about
doubt.
that. I'm gonna fall back with number 3, arguably one of the biggest inventions in modern mankind, from Iowa State University, Bryce, the computer.
Yes. Yep. And you'll see that on mine as well. Pretty awesome claim to fame from Iowa State, the science and technology school of all time, potentially, since the computer has really taken over the world.
I always remember growing up and being like a little kid in class and using some of the computers, and people always saying this was created at Iowa State. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way
Yeah.
this was created at Iowa State. Sure enough, it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The first, I believe, binary computer. Like it's just basically solving like A and B type code. But hey, really cool. And I believe it was the first one to ever store memory too. So you'll see that on my list too. I won't go into too much detail since you've kind of already outlined it, but pretty cool. Uh, do you know the name F.A. Wintern?
yeah, I do because it's on my list.
Okay, very good. Do you ever enjoy a snack that comes from a vending machine?
More than you would ever know.
And I would think a lot of listeners probably agree with us. The vending machine, at least in its very primitive, basic form, was invented in Iowa. I believe that it was preloaded with pennies from the Fawn Company founder, F.A. Wittern,
Yep.
and he would dispense himself some peanuts. Kind of a cool thing that obviously evolved into something much larger. And yeah, Iowa gets to claim it.
You'll see that on my list, and I got a good story to share with that when I get to it.
Okay, cool. I'll follow back with number 2, the first computer. We touched on it. Iowa State will always have this, and they're known for ag. They're known for now football and basketball, but they are always going to be known for the 1938 invention, the first computer.
Yep. Bryce, my number 2, just like we talked about, the vending machine. And the vending machine has brought me more power in my life than I've ever had at one point. My senior year, I think it was my junior and senior year, yes, for sure my senior year, I was in charge of filling the vending machine at my high school. And
Okay.
if you remember correctly, this is during the Michelle Obama era. So
Yes.
I
When
was,
things really got
and
kind of
they
gross.
gave me some notes like, hey, you got to follow these guidelines. What's going to be in our vending machine? Do you think I listened to that? Hell no. I put as many unhealthy snacks in that vending machine, and everyone in school knew it. Like, hey, what are you going to put in the vending machine this week? I'm like, oh, I got some good stuff. Fruit snacks, oh, you name it. I loaded that thing. And the best part about it was I got to get off class anytime I want to go. I go to the fairway,
Hey,
go
vending
shopping,
machine's
and
low. I
I
gotta
would
go
grab our
shopping.
good friend Fluff. I go get him out
Yeah.
geometry
Yep.
or something. Like, hey, let's go. Let's go fill the vending machine. And I had a note from the principal saying it was my duty to serve the vending machine for the school. So I got a little
That's
too much power, got a little carried away. Shout out to my principal, Christy Peterson, who took good care of me in high school, let me run the vending machine. And
that's a lot of power to give
it
to a
was,
student in high school.
and yeah, I flexed it harder than ever. And God, I missed it. All right. My number 1, Bryce, is sliced bread.
Nice.
And I don't get it. Was it just a loaf of bread one day and you sliced it and that became the invention, or what?
I believe that the contraption for sliced bread was invented in Iowa, and obviously, like it's a lot of these things.
So
Are like,
the contraption itself.
yes,
How come I've never
yes.
seen this contraption? Who's
I don't
slicing this
know.
bread? Oh, I guess so. When I get it, it's already sliced. Okay.
Yeah, you'll see them at
Yeah,
Hy-Vees.
duh.
Hy-Vees have lots of their own bakeries now, and you'll see the slicer back there. That's why I put it on 5, because I wasn't quite sure whether we could claim the entire invention, but the idea of, a mechanism to slice the bread was conceived
Kind
to
of
be
slice
reliable.
something else and invent that too,
Yes, you can
I
if you
need to
can
slice
mass
something that
produce
hasn't
it
been
and
sliced. Yeah, and then okay. Yeah, I don't know
yep.
why that one's so popular. I really chose that for the people of the state of Iowa because anytime we post about it, an Iowa show, it's clickbait. People love that shit for some
Yep.
reason. So that
Mhm.
was more to feed the people, the audience. But hey, I like a good sliced bread too. Makes my life easier.
For sure. I'm surprised this wasn't on your list. Waterloo, Iowa is home to one of the very first gas powered tractors,
Yep.
the Waterloo Boy. John Deere, founder, was, I believe, in Illinois. A couple different acquisitions of companies across the Midwest leads us to John Deere. And their first tractor was in the 1910s, I want to say 1919. And we, are a huge agriculture state, so I had to put the first gas-powered tractor as my number 1.
My plan worked to perfection. I knew it would be on your list, and I tried to make. I wanted to make this list a good variety, which I think we did enough there.
We
So
did.
yeah, our obviously deserve number 1.
Yeah, there was almost no way we weren't going to have some crossover today because we don't have too many. I will say I'm surprised that your feelings are that we didn't invent a ton, because I think those are pretty they're solid inventions.
Right, but yeah, I mean, you look around your room. How many things in here are an invention? Everything's
True.
an invention.
Yeah.
I mean, they're cool inventions. I just thought there would be more. So we need to get
Yes,
our
there's
shit
not very
together.
much.
Hopefully, there's a lot of engineers coming up here, and Iowa State needs to produce more.
Yeah, true. Hey, good segment. And Iowa, can we invent a little bit more so that this list can get longer and we can have something to talk about?
Yeah, for sure, Bryce. We want to hope that this podcast gets recorded. Hopefully, we got good news following this episode. Before we let you go, what's the big plans for this week, brother?
We got Sim League tonight. We have the national championship.
Sim League Monday,
My
yes.
money sits with Ohio State, but I wouldn't hate to see the Irish get the victory tonight. I don't think we have a ton. We're doing a lot of wedding planning right now, which is both good and bad. I'm, 1, excited to get married, but at 2, it's just a lot. We're doing guest lists, and we're doing, things, potential decor. Down the line, we'll do food. We'll do all this stuff. Right now, we're very focused on getting this venue locked in, deposit down, date sent out.
Yeah, the best part of getting
There's a
married
lot
is
going
getting the wedding done itself.
Yeah.
Getting through it. There's no doubt about it. If there's anything,
What about you? What are you up to?
get this back fixed out, man. I'm gonna go to the chiropractor at 1:45. I'm gonna jump down to the office, see what everyone's up to prior to that. Survive the cold, move on with the week. Stay away from betting. I got back in the books last night, and I had what I have. The Ravens, and I had to watch All-Pro tight end Mark Andrews drop a football for a 2-point conversion. And it's just my type of year. It just keeps going the way I hope it want to keep going. So today's going to be the start of a new day. We're going to get some adjustments in the lower back, and we're going to be a new man.
Okay. I'm still holding out hope. Your 2025 is going to be on the up and up at some point. I can't tell you an exact date, but I promise it'll get better.
Thank you, folks. I really need it.
Peace out. Talk to you in a week.
See you, everyone.